Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Olivia. You may also know me as the Carnivore Ballerina, and today I'm going to be sharing my most highly requested thing, which is my warm-up and stretch routine. I began to stretch and actually become flexible when I was 18, just because I had joint pain and muscle recovery was terrible, and I did not stretch as well. I'm not going to lie, it was painful. I watched this interview with Tia Wenkman, who is a well-known ballet dancer, and she, in that interview, said that she stretched for an hour a day, and to me that seemed ridiculous. I thought 15 minutes was more than enough. Turns out, 4 years after I watched that, I ended up stretching for like 2.5 hours every single day, which is just ironic. And now I stretch for probably like an hour and a half at the most. So, yeah. I think... So the way that I stretch, I've kind of formulated a routine and a way of going about it so that it's a bit more theoretical, I guess, than just going and stretching. So I have a mechanism that I use, and then recently that's even changed more so. So I used to just stretch. Now I go in an orderly fashion. So logically for me, the lower back or mid to lower back and hips is the center of everything. So if my back is tight, then my hips are going to be tight, then my inner thigh muscles are going to be tight, then my knees are going to be tight, then my calves are going to be tight, then my ankles are going to be tight, and everything's going to be tight. So I would not start by just stretching my ankles, for example. I wouldn't start by stretching my hips. I would start by first warming up my back, relaxing my back, then warming up my hips, and then from there going to everything else. So for me, this is the center that you need to relax, and then stretch. The second thing that I've been doing, which is a more so recent thing, and I think it's really cool, and it actually, weirdly enough, does work. I don't know if it's placebo or not, is there was a study, it's a thing. It's called Pelvic Rehabilitation, I think, something like that. And it's where you listen to certain musics and it loosens your muscles, and it's not like a frequency or something. It's just because you like that music, your body naturally relaxes. There's like some brain trigger thingy. So either that happens, or if you sing, for example, there's certain things that you can do and that relaxes your hips specifically. Even actually your jaw is connected to your hips. So without knowing it, you might not be fully biting back on certain teeth, and if you're not doing that, your brain doesn't like feel that, and then that would be causing like a tight hip. It gets really weird and nerdy, so I'll just stay out of that. What's important to know is make sure your teeth are all touching, even if you feel like they're touching, just like check by just... And it seems so stupid, but honestly it did help. I don't know. Somehow, to some extent, it did. One last thing I want to mention before I actually get into the exercise thing is the most life-changing thing, life hack, if you want to stretch, is you wear warm stuff and you stretch in a warm room. This is huge, and I did this religiously. I would sleep wearing socks and booties, which booties alone are very warming. Plus socks really just relaxed my feet. I also slept with like excessive amounts of blankets and pillows and very thick like sweatpants and stuff like that, and that really relaxed my muscles overnight. And then throughout the day I would do the same. I'd always have like a sweater on or something, so my back is always warm. When I'm not moving physically, I try to always have a warm up on or something so that my body was always in a warm state. It's not always a great idea for the most part, but I found it to be beneficial and haven't found any like bad things about it, except that you might be too relaxed, therefore your muscles won't like tighten when you want them. So if you are gonna go and exercise or like perform or something, I wouldn't stay warm a lot. I would always just stay active. Yeah, without any further ado, here is what we're going to do. So before I just go and stretch, I like to do a miniature warm-up exercise thingy, starting with my lower back and then for my hips and then a bit of abs, just to warm up the center of everything. And then I will roll out using this and then a medicine ball or a massage ball, so like a tiny tennis ball. And then I will stretch. So this exercise that I'm doing, my knees are completely straight, my feet are together, and I just do these little tiny pulses like this. And what you want to feel is this part of your back. You want your hips pushing into the ground. You don't want them moving up and around. You need them really straight, and you don't want your knees to be bent so that you're like moving like a worm or something. So yeah, really straight, and you keep your back straight and up. You can even keep it down if you want. I prefer to keep it kind of like this. And you should really feel this in your lower mid back. And I do about 100 to 200 pulses like this. You can start with 50. You just want to make them short and simple and keeping your knees straight. I cannot emphasize that enough. This was actually taught to me by a teacher that I was using that actually brought my technique to where it is in the span of a year. And that teacher recommended doing this to just strengthen, essentially. Once again, I just want to emphasize, you're not using your glutes to do this. You don't want to contract any of that region. You are just using your lower back. So it's warming up your lower back and your hamstrings so that it's relaxing, or warming up the hamstrings too to be stretched, which is also, of course, very important. And I'm probably just going to do like 100 to keep it short and easy to follow. And because I'm going to run out of stuff to say, and putting music over me doing this is probably not going to be real pleasant to see. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have my knees together in parallel. The last one was in parallel as well. And I'm just going to do these like pulses like this. And you're kind of getting your hips here by doing this, and a bit of your inner thigh muscles as well, and a bit of your abs, of course. And you can just do like 8 of these. Try to keep your knees together. As you can see, the booties are not allowing me to do this. You don't want your back arching. You want it pressing on the ground. After we've done that a couple times, we're just going to do one leg, so you just bring it up. This I found off of TikTok from a physio who is talking about having to rehabilitate dancers for having pulled inner thigh muscles or just ruined, destroyed hips. And he was saying that just doing this very basic exercise strengthens your hips and your inner thigh muscles, and it also helps with your extensions. So if that's not a good reason to do this, I don't know what is. I just like to do 8 to 10 of them on each side. I think that's enough. If this is too basic and simple, you can add a band. So you'd put the band around your foot, and then you would put another foot on it like that to make like a bit of an anchor type thing, and then you'd pull it up while holding, and that just adds resistance and makes it harder. So you can do them like that, or you can do them without the band. Honestly, either way is fine. And then the abs that I like to do is very basic. I just put my hands up like this. Let's pretend that both my hands are like this. And then I just hold this for like 20 seconds, about 5 times. And it just warms up the whole ab region. Yeah. The next thing that I'm going to do, and I used to do this with this thing, but you can do it either way, is just inner thigh pulses. So you can either do it with this yoga circle thingy, and you just do the pulses. Make sure that it's under your knees, because it can be quite dangerous if you have it at your knee. So I just put it right under, and I hold on to it because it might slip off. And I do about like 45 to 54. Those are just lucky numbers for me. Pulses, and I make sure that my legs are turned out. I don't do turned in. If that's too difficult or you don't have this, you can just do them like this. Or if you have a yoga ball, you can put the ball in between and just do very small pulses, like just squeezing like that, and it's still very effective. If you don't have it though, just what this is essentially doing is just kind of warming up the hip region as well, and then obviously also the hamstrings. Yeah. You can do this with a ball. You can also do it with this thingy, by just going like up and down. It really gets your abs and your hips warmed up, and I just do this maybe 20 times. You can start with 10 because it is quite difficult. If you do Pilates, this is probably like nothing for you, but yeah. And then the last thing is just even more back. We're going to do swan arms, which is just funny. And essentially you're just going to lift up your back a bit, go back with your arms and down like 10 to 20 times. This is just to warm up the upper back and arms a bit more. Yeah. You can have your legs either together or I just leave them. However, if you're not channeling your inner swan, you can just do something like this. Also want to emphasize you're not rolling up, you're sticking your hips into the ground. That's key here. So that is a very basic rundown of a miniature, very, very basic, not really muscle working exercise routine that I do. It's just to essentially warm up my body before I stretch it, roll it out and everything, because you don't want to just go and stretch. That's not a good idea. You do need to have some form of circulation, movement, warmth going on there. So that's what I usually do. And I always wear something warm, like I already said. And then after this, I would go and roll out my muscles, which will be in another video, because if not, then it'll be too long and boring. So yeah, go check that out. It'll probably be out. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to share as well. And thank you for watching.